drafting letters to outside parties, that type of thing. I mean, it would be, could take off some of the more administrative stuff off of us.
Mr. Powell?
I thought that was something that we had discussed, and I didn't know if we had decided either way that we weren't going to pursue hiring for a more hybrid position. I kind of felt like we were heading in that direction, and
Direction
at some point.
The direction I recall is not doing it as a hybrid position because of the different expertise that each takes to do it. That's what I recall from the discussion, so.
Okay. Just from how Jamie was describing it, it sounds more almost administrative than anything else. As far as, like you mentioned, generating letters, and
Yeah,
it doesn't sound too like in depth as far as HR expertise or knowledge is necessarily concerned.
yeah, the person I'd be looking for would have accounting, bookkeeping skills. I'm not looking for somebody with CPA, I'm not looking for somebody with a master's degree, I'm looking for an entry-level type position with, they may have a few years' experience with accounting. Trying to get somebody to handle, again, more of the administrative stuff, more of the, evaluating. One of the key positions, BJ and I and Nate have had conversations about the utility billing function and some of the needs in there as well. So that this person would support that area as well. We're starting to have some conversations about improving the technology and their ability to access our system and integrate in our system, and I think we'll be doing those in the near future. But this person would serve as a resource to help them reconcile books and making sure that everything's being appropriately accounted on a daily basis.
Tim or Todd?
Well, I think one of my questions has already been answered, so that had to do with the skills of an HR person versus the skills of a clerk in the finance office. The other comment that I would say is, and kind of during the budget discussions, one of the things that tipped me, if that's the right term, is the concept that within your financial office, having 3 individuals that each does something different when it comes to the money, so that 2 people, one person is not the same person who says that they got the money, is the same person that, there you go.
Here you go. I have $100. I've taken receipt of the cash. I'm going to give it to Janice, and Janice will do the deposit, and then I'll reconcile the bank account. So I'm 2 of the 3 steps. In a perfect world, you have individuals doing each.
And that wasn't the only reason, but for me,
No.
and at least in the budget
It
discussion,
improves
that's
integration of
the
internal control.
internal control that it added.
Yep.
Mr. Marshall?
Well, a couple of observations. I'm sort of verbally high-fiving Mrs. Carter, because I agree with that. I think that's also carries over that we need a higher level of, a higher look to the 10,000-foot look at human resources is the same way we need that look at our physical resources as well, to decide what's more important, instead of having one project come to us in bits and pieces. What prioritize across the board, things like that. I do appreciate the internal controls aspect of this. People who lived in Central Ohio for a long time may remember a guy named Jesse Odie, who was the elected clerk of the Franklin County Common Police Court, but who mysteriously, he started out in the juvenile division, and he mysteriously insisted on going over to the juvenile court traffic division every afternoon and collecting all the fines. That's because he was putting them in his pocket. So he did that for probably 20 years is the estimate.
Yes, sir.
Maybe 25 years. He worked in that office for a very, very long time. So I'm not saying anyone in our finance office is putting things in their pocket, but internal controls when it comes to that sort of thing are very important. So I think that's an important consideration. However, this is the first time though I'm hearing that the HR function, if the HR function of the hybrid finance clerk / HR person was only going to be typing letters related to HR, such as, thanks for applying, or putting notices on Facebook, or hiring, or something like that, that person was not going to be doing any HR decision making or creating an HR manual or something like that. So maybe I wasn't paying attention. So.
And is that because we're not finding the caliber of person we want on a full-time basis, and you're looking at a part-time HR person that may not?
Maybe I'm not following, but, you know, HR functions, what we're looking for beyond just typing letters, is something completely different than we're looking
The
for
accounting clerk.
accounting clerk. I
Well,
mean, those are two totally different
I know,
skills,
but-
two totally different knowledge bases.
But what I'm saying is that now it sounds like, before I thought I thought this was kind of an odd conversation, because I thought, I don't think there's a person out there who's got, there might be, mad HR skills and mad finance skills. I don't know, they're gonna be the push me, pull you from, from the children's story. So, well, okay, good luck. But now I'm hearing that what we really want is mad finance skills for our hybrid person with the ability to type, right? And somebody who
I'm
just,
not-
who could just
yeah.
push a button and
Well,
push out the form letter that says, thanks for applying, have a nice day, thanks for applying, have a nice day, right? No?
I think where I was headed with that was, the intent was that this big person is an accounting clerk, and their primary responsibilities would be accounting and finance related. To the extent that they have excess resource available, they could help out in those more mechanical type functions, supporting the HR function. They wouldn't be the HR person.
Okay, right. Okay.
So the part-time person would be the HR officer.
Mrs. Carter, back to you.
Okay, first, two things. One is, it's not that I have no clue what goes on in your office, because I have been in the past 2 years in the unfortunate role as the person who puts in all the requisitions and processes the purchase orders and deals with the treasury department for everything that goes on in the high school, from clubs to department heads. And they think I can be a real pain, if you will. So I get that part of it, and I understand, you know, the need for accountability. What I'm saying is, when we started looking at an individual for planning and zoning, we made Scott bring his dog and his pony and his rings for the circus. I mean, he had to give everything that was going on, complete analysis of what he could accomplish, did it if he had another person. And with this position, I feel like it was slipped into an initial budget discussion and that we had never had before, and all of a sudden there's a position put in, and now we're all the way to, now let's approve this so we can post it. I don't feel like with every other department that goes on in this city, thank you, we have gone through what we need to with the analysis of our staffing. I mean, where are we, in some municipalities, VJ, you would have your own administrative assistant. Ideally, you would. So how are we gonna say that next month that doesn't jump up on us? And say, oh, now we need this. I don't like piecing and putting it in. We need to see where are we at now, how we're growing, where are we going to be? Same way we look at a building, you know, this is the capacity we need for now, but we need it to last for 30 years. So we need to look at the whole picture. I don't feel like we've done that.
Okay, any more discussion? Yes, sir.
I'm double high-fiving Mrs. Carter. I couldn't, we're in unison down here at this end of the dais.
She was the best.
So there's your first chore there, Mr. Hicken, separate those two. No, just kidding. And I'll just throw in my 2 cents, everybody else has talked. I guess you had me, Jamie, when you said that if Janice goes on vacation, you're suddenly the finance manager and the finance director, and again, somebody hands you $100 there. Yeah, as much budget stuff as we've talked, and when I've explained to the residents that, what's our budget again, you told 20 million?
You know, your pick.
We're handling a $20 million budget with 2 people, and when somebody goes on vacation, that's just, I just think it's, yeah, I know it was kinda, came around at budget time, and we could've talked about it some more, but I think it's a legitimate discussion, so. Any other discussion? Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, okay. We're not saying we're unilaterally opposed to a budget cleanup. What we're saying is that before we get convinced that we need this clerk, We wanna see a comprehensive or a bigger picture look at projected future needs for the city so that we know how to prioritize. Just as with infrastructure, we looked at, not as well as I would have wanted to, but I think we looked at the police station versus roads, and we made a conscious decision to put money over into the police station because we thought that was a higher priority than some other projects. So we're not saying, oh, we're not those people who come here and say, no, you can never hire another person, it's bad if you hire another person, municipal employees are bad, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's not what we're saying. We're saying, before we do it, we'd like to see, hear from the other departments, police, service, administration, what have you. In the future, this is what we think we may need, so then we can, when we're planning down the road, just as we have the capital improvement look down the road, this is what's coming.
In addition to.
And I know that can be difficult, it can be difficult, but that's what we're looking for,
Gotcha.
okay? Thanks,
Mr.
thanks.
Hickman?
That's good enough.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, very good. Ordinance 2018, that was just the first reading, so we got some time on that. 2018-4311, first reading.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Higgins, seconded by Mr. Barstow. Kathy, when you're ready.
Ordinance 2018-4311, this is the first reading, an ordinance to accept and confirm infrastructure improvements for the Legacy Estates Phase 3 for public maintenance and operation by the city of Pataskala.
Discussion? Yes, sir.
A couple of quick questions, one for Alan. On this one, obviously, is there a pond involved in this section?
Yes.
Okay, do we know, we have all the details we need about this pond, right? Who owns it, who's maintaining it? Is this our pond or is this the subdivision, or the association's pond?
It is theirs. And
It is theirs, okay.
Well, actually, the plat was done for this beforehand, so I'm not sure if we caught it on, we didn't catch it on the plat, but.
No, because it's already been platted, it was
It's already been
platted
platted.
years ago.
Right. I'm 90% sure we do. I'll double check and make sure that we've got documentation for that to be,
Hopefully it's theirs. Second question for,
I'm 90% sure that it is. Well, yeah.
second question on the widening. I saw in your report regarding the county has a bond for the widening.
Correct.
Is that something that was also on the plat as a requirement? Was it a zoning, I guess the first question I have is, was it a zoning requirement to have the widenings done on Blacks and on Watkins?
Yes.
Okay, so it's the city's requirement, we're requiring it to be widened, is that correct?
Correct.
And the county's holding the bond on that, and we're going to approve this section, which is directly related to the widenings, is that what we're trying to do?
Actually, the turn lanes were supposed to go in after phase 1, I believe.
Hey Scott, real quick, can you go back, when would, this section, when did it start? When was this approved with the widenings? It's been several years.
Yeah, I'd say,
Yeah, this is one of those old ones that's coming up and they wanted to proceed without meeting the requirements that were set in place at that time with the approved plat to do the widenings, correct?
correct.
And the
Yeah.
widenings are in county roads and they were required, I think, at that time by county planning? Or by the city?
The engineering.
The city, because phase 1 went in, and I believe as part of phase 1, that the turn lane on Blacks was required to be installed. That was never done, and I'd say that's been 17 years ago.
Yep.
So as we proceeded with this, because then phase 2 went in, and then they were coming in for phase 3, and then phase 3 was already platted and approved. Prior to us starting here, so then we kind of had a discussion with them and said, remember the turn lane that was supposed to go into phase 1, now we're on to phase 3, we need to get that in, but the road is split between county, no, it's all in the county,
It's all in the
It's
county.
all in the county, so then, we had them get plans reviewed and approved by the county, which they were, and then they have a bond in place that if they don't construct it, then the money's available to the county to construct it. So to answer your question, the turn lanes were required as part of phase 1 through the city's planning and zoning commission, I'd say about 17 years ago.
Okay. And so,
And I think that was, of course, I don't think any of us were here at the time, I think that was a county requirement because those are county roads and they're collector streets. So it was the county's requirement to put the turn lanes in, the city just incorporated into the final development plans that those were required.
Yes.
okay, just second question on the bonding part of this. The county's holding the bond, the county would be responsible for completing that work, is that correct?
That is correct.
And do they have a time frame? Do we know what their time frame is for completing that work?
I believe it's 1 year, but I'm not 100% on that.
Is it 1 year from our acceptance or 1 year from when they got approval of?
I don't think it has anything to do with our acceptance, it'd be from the date of the
So
bond.
it's not contingent on our acceptance at all?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
One other thing on this, I'm not sure what the protocol is, and maybe it's changed because of, I'm not 100% on the ponds. In accordance with the legislative report, I was, and with all the necessary items to be completed, it was requested that we skip the required 3 readings to accept this, being that all the conditions were met. That's what we did for the last subdivision settlement, phase 3, section 3. Yeah.
Yes.
And the new subdivision regulations, we're moving it to a resolution, because an ordinance wasn't really required.
Resolutions are standard for acceptance of public infrastructure.
Yes, thank you.
Any other discussion?
Just quickly, and maybe I missed it, but what's the need for to skip the readings? Is there something that needs to go into effect right away, because that's not something I'm generally a fan of doing?
I guess in this case, there's not much of one. Honestly, it was the same as the last one. And settlement 3.3 with our new policy is that they must get acceptance before they can plat, before they can build houses. This was an anomaly where it was already platted, so they can already build houses. So I guess it's not necessarily necessary.
The only issue that would arise with that is they then have the ability to build houses on a road that has not yet been accepted by the city. In the new subdivision regulations, all this is sorted out, so it's a linear process. We still have a few stragglers that the cart was before the horse that we're trying to clean up. So that would be one of the issues that arises, is that they could build houses on an unaccepted public road.
Go ahead.
Question for either Scott or Alan or BJ. If you anticipate that happening before the next meeting,
They're already building houses.
so they would be building houses without,
Without the public infrastructure being accepted, which at this time they can do. So there's nothing to prohibit them from building houses.
Because it's already platted, there's already right of way there.
Right. It's kind of one of those weird anomalies that with the new subdivision regulations, it was, we don't want this to happen anymore,
Yeah.
so.
This
All right,
is a
I'll
cleanup.
I'll ask the question differently. What is the danger to the city if we decide to waive the 3rd reading at the 2nd meeting instead of waiving all
Nothing.
3 readings now?
Nothing.
No.
Does the administration have a significant problem if we waited 1 meeting to do that?
I'm fine with doing that. I'm fine with
I
doing
don't know that I'm on the right path here, but I'm somewhat with Mrs. Carter, and I tend to shy away from it unless I think it's, heady stuff, and if I get it ahead of time, I'll oftentimes ask and say, hey, why are we waiving the 3 readings, and I feel uncomfortable slightly doing that this time. That's just me.
Well, I think there has to be, for me, there has to be a compelling interest for the city, not for some developer who's, they're gonna do whatever, as I found out in my neighborhood, they're gonna do whatever they wanna do anyway, we're not gonna stop them. So anyway, but secondly, we can find out about, this is the same one with the ponds,
Yes.
we can find out about the ponds.
Right.
So when we find out about the ponds,
There's no,
we
we can certainly wait.
if it's necessary, I'm,
Any other discussion? Okay, on to resolutions. Resolution 2018-001, a resolution authorizing the sale by internet auction during calendar year 2018 of city-owned personal property which is not needed for public use or which is obsolete or unfit for the use for which it was acquired.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Hicken. Discussion? Yes, sir.
BJ, do you have a list for these anywhere? Is this something we can find on, I mean, you're gonna, I think in your report you said it goes to
GovDeals.com.
govdeals.com. Is there a list?
A list of,
Of what's gonna be auctioned? What is proposed to be auctioned?
nothing's been determined yet.
Oh, these
This
are
just
items
opens
yet
it up.
to be determined.
This is, instead of coming to council each time we went to
Okay.
auction, this is saying, hey, in 2018, police
I
can
got it.
auction by propertyroom.com, the city can auction by GovDeals and not have to come back every
Okay.
time to
I
council
thought
and
you
say,
had
here's a trailer, here's.
predetermined it.
No.
Okay, very good.
Nope.
Thanks.
Okay, any other discussion? And roll call, please.
Carter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2018-003, a resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to enter into a professional services agreement with Jobs Henderson for professional engineering services for fiscal year 2018.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion? Yes.
Okay. And maybe I'm not understanding the process when it comes to our contractors. I know we've used Jobs Henderson is this like the third year maybe in a row, or for different items? Is there any kind of process? I mean, how do we come to the decision of picking one contractor or another? Is it opened up like a bid for some normal, or is it just a recommendation by somebody in administration?
Mr. Kane?
We don't have a formal process every year to go out to bid for retainer engineering services. The nature of the retaining, or the engineering steps, there's continuity in place. You know, I can sit here and say we have been very satisfied with the service Jobs Henderson has provided to us. They're gonna provide the same level of service, same price in 2018 as they did in 17. You know, one of my hesitations and what we've run into in the past with the city is changing and, you know, stuff getting lost in the shuffle and having problems. We've been very satisfied with the service that Jobs Henderson has. And this is the general engineering services. This isn't for design of stuff. This isn't all of that. I know Alan's working on getting an RFP together, or an RFQ together for a ramp process. So those are competitive. This is for the everyday general engineering stuff. Hey, we have a culvert, can you come out and take a look at it? You know, there's a list of stuff they provided, so.
And these are outside of the scope of what, Alan, you do individually, or, I mean, being an department of one?
Absolutely, they are. It's more than Alan can do by himself.
Okay, that's what I need to know.
In fact, we're actually lucky to have a public service director that is an engineer in the
Oh,
first
yeah,
place. What's that?
You're absolutely right, but there's a lot of work there for it.
No, I realize that. I'm saying that he's already an engineer, but obviously not an engineer of everything, but we're lucky to have you as an engineer and a public service director, sir. Thank you. Any other discussion? Kathy, when you're ready.
Powell,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes. On to motions. Motion to appoint Kathy Hoskinson, clerk of council, as the mayor's and council's representative to attend the required House Bill 9 certified training on their behalf.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Walther. Discussion? And roll, please.
Hayes,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. Any other motions?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to direct the city administrator to begin the process of auctioning off, of posting the auction for the police dog.
Okay, we got a motion?
Oh, the name of the police dog is?
Mute.
Newton. Did I do that right? Does that cover the scope enough? I don't know. I mean, is,
Yes, it does.
okay.
Got a motion? Got a second?
Hey, Brian, I shouldn't mention that. Brian, does that cover the scope?
Well, I think we're all talking about section 12302 of the city charter, so with that assumption, that's
Close enough?
Close, well, I mean, it's sufficient, and we'll look to the charter to see the
That's
exact
exactly what we're
requirements.
talking about, so.
Yeah, so, I mean, the requirements for the posting, for the advertisement and the, public auction are found in the charter, so.
I guess my question was my motion vague and then I directed him to start, or is it just,
I would say, make a motion to you know, if the intent is to auction the dog,
Proceed.
I would make a motion to direct the city administrator to advertise and hold an auction for, former canine.
Yeah, I mean, technically, it should be a motion to authorize the sale under 12303 of the city charter.
Mr.
Kathy,
Hicken, go
Kathy,
ahead.
were you able to get that?
I think so.
I mean, for simplicity's sake, I can do it again, but for simplicity's sake, I'd like to throw the motion out as that, under 123.03 of the city charter.
And does your second still hold, Mr. Barstow?
Yes.
Okay. We have a first and a second, discussion, Mrs. Carter.
You get to hear from me a lot tonight. I know you like that.
You're feeling real good
I feel
tonight.
so much better. Aren't you guys glad I'm healthy?
Okay, thank you.
So-
Anybody else?
Not so easy. I'm really, this whole situation just ticks me off because, you know, we find ourselves, we were so happy a couple of years ago, we're proactive and we have 2 full-time trained dogs with handlers, and all of a sudden, you know, we're down 1.5, because of where we've left ourselves, which is our own fault. So knowing that we're going to correct that, so this cannot happen in the future, I am still struggling with just allowing this to happen. But for me, if we were to not do this and this animal were to try to be given to another officer and retrained, and anything happened, or it didn't work out, it's not like he can be adopted out to a home. I mean, he would probably be euthanized, and I'm not okay with that. So I'm not okay with a dog having to be put down because we didn't have policies in place to prevent this from happening. So I'll support it tonight, but I wanted that to be known before I did.
Any other discussion? Yes, Andy?
2 questions. Is it our intent to have a minimum bid on this? I know we talked about that
Yes.
initially. Do we know what that minimum bid is now?
$7,500, I believe.
7,500? And the second question,
Not to speak for you, but.
the funds that are received from the auction, is it the city's goal to designate these funds only for a repurchase of another dog in the future? And how would that happen?
Because the asset, and the dog is an asset, the dog was purchased with funds in the canine fund, the sale of the asset, the proceeds from that sale would go into the canine fund.
The canine, but the canine fund, as I understand it, is to support the canines
It's-
as they are.
It's the purchase
It's for
and
both.
maintenance of
Yeah.
the dogs.
It's for
Okay,
both.
so I guess what I'm asking is there a way to designate these funds for purchase only? Not maintenance, but purchase only? Because that's what it was initially. I mean, they weren't,
If council's intent is that we only spend the money, we can do it internally. There's really no way to designate them, but what we would,
There
BJ
would
and I would make
always
sure,
be at least $7,500 in that canine fund.
which would not
that's
be
what,
used for
that's what I
anything.
guess I'm trying to make sure that
We would
we
make
have
sure.
we have a way of stopgapping that, so that there is always that in there, because you've obviously heard my position on this for months now. And I guess the only way I can get past having to auction this dog off is that the money is going to be utilized to purchase another dog, because that's what the money was for to begin with. So that's my position on that.
And that's easily enough, and we can make that happen.
Okay.
That's not a problem.
Okay,
Still purchase order in this case.
Mr. Hickman,
Yes.
I would like you to, either amend and make sure that the minimum bid is in there of $7,500 in your motion as we auction the dog off.
I'd like to amend my motion.
And the idea that it will be used, the
And that the-
7,500 would be
yes, and
earmarked
that-
for repurchase.
So that all monies would be used for purchase of a new dog.
All right, let's see if I can do this all again.
Technically, you should withdraw your motion if you're doing it all again.
Okay, well, I mean, is that what you want me to do?
I just didn't want you to rewrite it before I asked this question, because in case What happens if we don't get a minimum bid of $7,500?
We will get a minimum bid of $7,500.
It's not sold.
Yeah, it's not sold, and at that point, it's determined the city can do as it wants with the dog.
Yeah.
I would like to make an amendment to my previous motion
To include.
to include, the fact that the proceeds from the auction will be used solely for the purchasing of a second police dog, or in the purchase of a second police dog. And the minimum bid for that said dog would be $7,500. No? Go ahead.
No, it's, Mr. just a point where you said that the minimum bid for the second dog would be $7,500. That means we'd have to pay $7,500 for the purchase of the new dog. I think what you meant was that the minimum bid for the sale of
A mutant.
Mutant is $7,500.
That's exactly what I meant.
Okay.
Could
Is
we
it-
maybe start over and
Yeah, is it?
write out
if
the
you don't mind,
motion?
real
I would
quick.
withdraw that for parliamentary procedure.
Henry,
I probably
okay, real
withdraw
quick.
all
I make a
that.
motion, I'd like to withdraw my previous motion.
Okay.
Can we make a motion to authorize the city administrator to auction former police dog Mutant with a minimum bid of $7,500, and proceeds from auction will go towards purchase of a new K9 unit,
And just-
K9 dog.
And just to clarify, so there's a purchase and there probably will be training and equipping a new dog, so
Yeah.
you would include the, or is it literally just the purchase of the animal?
Goes, yes, I would agree with you, Jamie, that's a good clarification. You may get a good deal, you may get a $4,500 dog, but the rest of that money could be used, I don't think that's.
I hope not.
Right.
It's gonna be
But
a
you
Taylor.
could,
Right.
you're right, you could use that, the excess for, yes,
Related,
absolutely.
related to
To
the
that
purchase
new
and
dog.
acquisition of a new dog.
That's a very good point.
Because you may not be able to do some other
Mr.
stuff.
King, I don't know if it's important, but I had 123.03 in there.
That's fine, that's,
Would somebody write it out so I have a clear copy of it?
I think Mr. Zetz is working on that right now,
Thanks.
so we'll have that for you.
Yes, he is.
You were, weren't you?
Sure.
Sure he was.
Yes.
Earn your money.
You were waiting for me to do it right now? So you can-
No, I'll go ahead and do something
Okay.
else real quick. I'd like to nominate,
We need to vote on this.
oh, okay, well,
What's it what BJ had said there? So that you need a motion, I got it. So you
Well,
need
listen.
a motion to
Yes.
authorize,
Yeah.
you need a
a
motion
motion
to
to
authorize-
authorize the city administrator to auction former K9 unit, K9 dog, officer, whatever, mutant, pursuant to section 1.23 of the city charter,
12303.
12303, establishing a minimum bid of $7,500, and proceeds from auction will go towards purchase and equipping and training a new police dog.
you still want that in writing, don't you, Kathy?
All right, I'll write it down.
All right.
Okay.
Can I go to something else while we're waiting, or would you have to stop and wait?
Well, no, she just needs, I mean, if you know what that is, she just wanted me to write it down so you have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can vote on it if you all know what it is.
All right.
And we have it on recording that it can be transcribed from for the minutes. We have the motion made. If somebody wants to say, make a motion consistent with
Got a
what was
motion
just
from
stated by the
Mr.
city administrator.
I will make a motion to, that is consistent with what Mr. King just put forth concerning the auctioning, and the ultimate use of the proceeds of former canine officer Mutant.
Okay, we have a motion, second, got a second from Mr. Hicken, discussion, and roll.
Hicken,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Barstow.
Yes.
Okay, on to other, unless there's any other motions. Okay, I'd like to appoint, Mr. Hicken to the fire board, so I would like a, motion to confirm that, please.
I move that we appoint Mr. Hicken to the West Licking Joint Fire District Board.
Have a motion by Mr. Barstow,
Second that.
seconded by Mrs. Carter. Discussion and roll.
Walther,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
and Hicken.
I'll abstain.
Okay, confirmation is complete. Thank you, sir, for taking that time. Appreciate your service on that fire board. Additional citizens' comments. Anybody wish
Mr.
to
Mayor,
speak?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
I would like to make a motion to appoint Ms. Carter to
Oh.
the Parks and Rec
okay.
liaison, as the Parks and Rec liaison.
Okay, got a motion by Mr. Walter, seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion? And roll.
Carter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Walther,
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Any additional citizens' comments? Anybody wish to speak? Yes, sir.
Mike Fox, 11540 Broad Street Southwest, Pataska, Ohio.
Okay, you got 3 minutes.
Public Broadcasting Channel, and BJ's not here. We used to have a public broadcasting channel. It was on some channel on cable. It was through whoever does cable in the city that we have a contract with, Mr. King, Public Broadcasting Cable Channel. We used to have one. It was very difficult to get anything on it, but I'm sure technology is way past that now. So that might be something for you guys to think about, so that you can get street information out, snow information out, police information out, sewer and water information out. Because when somebody said something about that, I just remembered, we used to have one, and it was a pain. Job descriptions are a good thing, just so everybody knows. I'm disappointed because back when we started the thing with planning and zoning, and nothing on you, Scott, you know, I disagreed with that appointment. Now I would disagree even more, because it's pretty sad that, you know, we haven't been able to accomplish what we asked when we were told we were gonna get an additional full-time employee there. So it didn't happen. In addition to that, on your HR person, HR right now, I believe, and somebody can correct me if they want to or not, I believe it's 85 to 90% of the time done right now by Mr. Nicholson's office. So, we're gonna hire an HR person, and we're gonna take more work away from Mr. Nicholson's office. And then we're gonna hire a full-time clerk that's gonna have to sit there and do full-time clerking. Janice Claproot used to run the entire finance in the city. After that, there was one director hired, then there was a second director hired. There's never been more than 2 people in there, and there's never been a question or crying about additional people. So I hope you look at that real close.
1 minute.
Mayor's Court, 2014, $170,000. 2015, $170,000. 2016, $140,000. 2017, $150,000 of revenue. Something's not working there, guys. You don't start here and go down to here. We're either not sending as many, the police department isn't sending as many things to our mayor's court, or something's not, maybe we don't have that much crime. But I don't know, it's something that needs to be looked into. Comprehensive plan, wow. We wrote our own comprehensive plan. You guys don't spend a lot of money on a comprehensive plan, and the fear of a comprehensive plan by an outsider, make sure they have a lot of public meetings. Require them to have a lot of public meetings. Pataskala is the weirdest community in the world. We all know that. We have agriculture,
30
we
seconds.
have industry, we have everything. So make sure that that gets done. And vacation. The finance department has always taken vacation, and they've never had another person to be there when they were gone. Janice Claproot took vacation when it was just Janice Claproot.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else wish to speak? Okay. Mr. Powell, what do you got for us tonight?
I have nothing in it.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Walther?
I I don't have anything other than to tell everybody I'm looking forward to an exciting 2018. As BJ and I think Alan and Scott have all said, there's a lot of stuff on the plate. There'll be a lot of stuff for committees to be paying attention to, and then bringing information back to council. Again, I guess reiterate that, you know, the sooner we get information to look at, the more informed we are, the better off we are for committee meetings and for council meetings. So appreciate that and look forward to a great 2018.
Congratulations to you, sir. Suzanne?
Yeah, while we are sitting here, my phone buzzed, my text showed up on my wrist, and we apparently have, we have a resident in Pataskala, Sarah Lee Etter, who won tonight's Jeopardy.
Jeopardy.
And so she was she's tonight's champion. So my kids are texting me and they're watching Jeopardy and my wrist went off, so I just thought that would be neat to share. So she'll be back on Jeopardy tomorrow. So Jeopardy airs like 3
7
months,
o'clock.
3
Oh, yeah,
months after
yeah.
they actually,
Yep.
perform. I mean, they're on it. So she hasn't been allowed to talk about this for months. My nephew was on it years ago when he was little. And so, it's like 2 or 3 months after they're on it that they can't even discuss their winnings. Otherwise, they lose their money. So Sarah Lee Etter is her name, and she'll be on the next 2 nights. Pretty cool.
What was her last name?
Etter, Etter, and it's Sarah Lee.
So you already know she loses in 2 nights?
I don't know if she loses in 2 nights. She knows.
Oh, okay.
She knows.
Did you teach her and
I
teach her
taught her
everything?
son. Her
Oh,
son.
I figured
Yeah,
you
her
were
son
so-
is her son is a on Will's football team.
Oh, cool.
So pretty cool.
Very good. Pataskala's on the map again on Jeopardy. Mr. Zetz, what do you got for us?
My wife could never keep that secret if she was on Jeopardy and didn't tell anybody. And I got the motion written up for Kathy. I'll give it to her after the meeting.
Okay, very good. Mr. Hicken?
Thanks to everybody for the vote of confidence in the president vote, and a special thanks to the fire board. I was passing snow warriors, or whatever you wanna call the people that are pushing snow, on my way to church. And, so special thanks to those guys. I didn't say it during the report, cause I had it down here. Also, thanks to Mr. King for working on the tabletop and making that happen, and to all the city people that will participate in that. It's something that has been, I don't know, I think it's been coming. You only prepare, I mean, you're only as good as your preparation is, and, so I'm grateful that, the administration has taken the step to work with, our services to make the tabletop happen. That's it from, and happy 2018.
And congratulations to you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Barstow?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I want to thank fellow council members for electing me vice president. I didn't do a very good job the first time, so I'm assuming that you want me to do a better job the second time. I'll try. I also want to thank Judge Dave Brandstole from our Common Police Court for swearing me in a couple of weeks ago on very short notice. I had plans to have a much more elaborate ceremony, but due to personal family issues, that just didn't work out. I think that the most revealing thing about tonight's meeting is that Mr. Fox reads the Washington Post. I think next council meeting he's going to come and quote Ta-Nehisi Coates writing in Mother Jones. So we'll see. But I suppose back in the day, the finance department wasn't automated. It didn't have a virtual private network to use. It probably used quill pens. I'm sure that at some point it evolved into adding machines, and eventually they got a telephone. And I suppose over time, at one time it was probably just part-time folks. I didn't live in Pataskala back then. I suppose they came to work in carriages and horses and buggies. And eventually now I think they come in cars. I didn't live in Pataskala then, so I don't know. But we're growing. We are going to have a new subdivision that's going to come in down in Ward 4. We've got a very large subdivision that's coming in on Broad Street down on the west side of town. So we are getting bigger, and we eventually may need more, shocking as it may seem, more city employees to serve more citizens. I know that's a radical sort of concept for some folks, but that just may be what may happen. So that's why I think Mrs. Carter and I are looking for more comprehensive thought on what our needs are going to be coming down the road. As to the police station, I was opposed to that for a long, long time, and I don't think that the police department deserves a new police station. I never said that. I think that looking at our infrastructure, the police department needs a new police station, and what changed my mind at our last meeting in December was actually comments that Mrs. Hayes made about the city and where the city had been and where the city was going. And as someone she's lived there her whole life, I believe, as someone who's only lived there for about 10 years, I thought that was pretty interesting, and that's what made me change my mind. As to the funding of it, I think we made a conscious decision to fund that. I don't like borrowing that large amount of money, but I believe we can afford it. As to our income tax revenue, it continues to go up. We continue to attract new residents that provide us with new income. And quite frankly, if I think we realize that debt has to be paid above every other debt, including personnel. And if we get to the point, I don't think we will, but if we get to the point where we have to make some tough choices, I think we'll make the tough choices. But I don't think we're going to get there, because I think that our income tax revenues continue to increase sufficiently to allow us to afford that. I think that's going to be an important addition to the city. And quite frankly, I after I voted and I was at home and I was thinking, well, I wonder, did I do the right thing? Was that the right thing to do? Then I saw the email, or maybe it was something, maybe it was a text from BJ that the police department came in one morning over the holiday and there was a hissing sound somewhere and things didn't work. And I thought, well, that's okay. There we go. With the new building, we're not going to have to worry about that. We're going to be able to serve our citizens in a very, very important function that the city provides, which is providing a safe city for everyone who lives there. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
And well, thank you, Mr. Barstow, and next time if you'd interject your information 2.5 years earlier. No, just kidding. I appreciate what you did, and I want to thank everybody for the last 4 years. I'm very excited. BJ and I were talking about the next 4 years are going to be just as exciting with everything that we've got planned, and I appreciate you being also kind to my mom tonight. At almost 90, I'm glad she was here, because I don't know if she'll be here for the next time. So, and she missed the first one, so thank you very much for that, and Happy New Year. And Mrs. Carter, we'll end it with you.
I want to echo what Todd just said. When I think about the police station, I think the residents deserve the police station. And I'm gonna start beating my drum now, so you guys can all prepare yourselves. Specifically the west side of town. We have a lot of work to do, and we have to get ready quick. The new high school, they're gonna start building this year, and those roads are not equipped to handle the traffic that will come that direction. It has nothing to do with the school needing it. It is the residents who live there, who don't have kids, who need to get from point A to B safely on those roads that are not well lit, they're not wide enough, they don't have turn lanes, so on and so forth. So we need to really look at that, and the entire west side, when we start talking about things like fireworks and the cookie walk and how beautiful it was, and the residents, I was out there, it was a beautiful day, people had a great time, but you never hear people say, oh, this beautiful west side of town, look what we've done. It looks like shit, and it needs to be fixed. So that is where we need to focus, and I will challenge our at-large members, who I'm very glad are on council again this year, to get actively involved over there to help me, because I'm going to need it. And I appreciate the appointment to the park board, and I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion to adjourn, seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion and roll.
Powell,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Walter?
Yes.
Yes.
Gotta bring back the swear jar. Meeting adjourned.
What's the radish? Sorry.
Yes, sir.